Hey guys, so this should be interesting for everyone who's a Yu Yu Hakusho fan. Doesn't seem like I mean, there is a lot, but none that watch my channel at least. But for me, this is great because I've seen the OVA when it came out, um, for like its anniversary and stuff, and it was really fucking good. It's kind of like a two-part story, um, but it's really fucking good. Even though it was in Japanese and you had to read it. But these characters in the show are so memorable that even in a million years, no matter what, I will always hear the English voice actors. So it's like you know exactly how they're you know the voice, you know exactly how they're saying things. It's crazy that you become so um taken in by these characters. And of course we got Botan. One of the coolest characters is, especially when you first meet her, she shows up and we're like, oh man, she's really cute. And then she's like, yeah, I'm the Grim Reaper. And you're like, are you sure about that? I mean, pretty much, if you haven't read the manga before that, and this girl, shows up and she's like, oh yeah, I believe in your culture. They call me the Grim Reaper. You're thinking the same thing Yusuke's thinking. No, you're not. Even he's like, you're supposed to wear a big black robe and look like a skeleton because that's how we imagine the Grim Reaper. This robed figure who's skeletal looking, who has, a scythe with him and captures souls or ferries them on the river Styx. And but she's like, no, I'm the Grim Reaper. I ferry souls on the river Styx. And you know, so just the reveal that of course, not just her. There are several Grim Reapers, but she's the more prominent one. She's Koenma's pretty much go-to girl, I guess. He's got like all the other Grim Reapers are female, but she's like the top, it seems. But English cast returned for Yu Yu Hakusho OVAs, Two Shots and All or Nothing. Cynthia Kranz, who's the voice of Botan. She also, if you also watch Dragon Ball Z, she's Chi Chi, and she's been voice acting for a while. So, um, but yeah, Funimation said that back in like 2019 when the OVA came out, they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna dub it," and blah blah blah. Still hasn't been released. Um, while there's been no official announcement at the time, Cynthia goes on to state in her post that this news comes from a very trusted source within Funimation. Answering questions from the fans, Cynthia also said that she believes that all of the cast members will be returning to reprise their roles. Justin Cook as Yusuke, Christopher Sabat as Kuwabara, um, Chuck Huber is Hiei, John Bergmeyer is Karama, Cynthia Kranz obviously as Botan. Um, Anytime we can return to the skins of these characters, Cook said, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, if you listen to Yusuke's voice, that's pretty much Justin's voice. He's got a very unique voice, but just like everyone else with Funimation, like Christopher Sabat, the characters he plays, you know it's him because it sounds like him, regardless of whether it's Vegeta or Piccolo or most of the members of the Ginyu Force or Kami or Mr. Popo. It sounds like him. Justin's the same thing. He plays Raditz, he plays Dende. You can tell who's who because they sound very similar. Um, but I just finished watching the series again, probably like once a year. I've ever since I watched it on Toonami for the first time back in the early 2000s, I've watched it pretty much every year. Once, sometimes more than once a year, and I just finished it the other day. Seriously, if you're trying to get into anime, this is the perfect anime to get into. Um, don't try to get into Dragon Ball Z first, or Naruto, or Bleach, or any of those that people recommend. Get into Yu Yu Hakusho. It is the perfect anime. No, none of that fucking filler bullshit. Oh, we're going to the beach today, and every episode has a purpose. It's not like, oh, wacky Goku and Piccolo trying to learn how to drive. No, each episode leads to the next arc. Once the arc is finished, the next episode sets up for the next one. It's the perfect anime. The final season is kind of rushed, but the characters are very memorable. It's fun. Um, but I remember reading these during class when I was in school. My friend would bring them to school, and he'd let me borrow them. He's like, "Oh yeah, just give it back to me at lunch or after school." So I would sit there and I would read the manga during class, and yeah. But yeah, the OVA was really cool. Like I said, it's like a two-part thing. Uh, the second half is kind of like um the Spirit Defense Force, the group that was introduced in the chapter Black arc, like at the end. The head of that, he kind of like joins this cult, and he kind of wants to destroy the world. So there's like the super doomsday device, and Yusuke has to kind of deactivate it, and but they've got to sneak into the spirit world, undetected and stuff like that. I think that it's like one of the only times we see Kuwabara use his sword, his Giganto, which can slice through dimensions. He used it as like a portal type thing. Um, God, if he used that against enemies, I mean, they would have been screwed. I mean, the only other person in the series who had the power to slice through dimensions was Mikuro, and even it's just kind of she like created like this web of razor sharp dimensional cuts. So if you bumped into that, you'd be shredded up as well. But I don't think she can use them to jump into another dimension or use as portals, while Kuwabara could, because that was the only way to get out of, like, when he was fighting Seaman. He was, even though you could physically see him inside Seaman's monster, Seaman's monster was another dimension. But so he had a sword, he was able to slice through that dimension and make his way back to the other side. So having a sword like that, I mean, I'm pretty sure he would have done fairly well in the Demon World tournament. Um, but yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho, God, jeez, so many, so many fucking memorable characters. Like, there's so many memorable characters. You remember all their powers. You remember how they talk. You remember their personalities. Oh, what's to say? Yu Yu Hakusho fans, I have it on good authority that we will be recording the two OVAs soon. Actually, Yusuke's face is kind of how we all feel right now. He's like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Because you guys said this back in 2019 and it still hasn't happened. Um, they've recorded the movies like Poltergeist Report, and I think was it Golden Seal or something like that. But it's like most of them, it's like they dub them, but it's like, where are they? Um, one of them is voiced, like Koenma. One of them is voiced by Eric Stewart, the guy who plays Brock and Kaiba and James, and so it's just weird hearing Koenma like Botan he's not saying it in the way that you would think. The freaking spear world's being flooded, and he's like, Botan, jelly-filled donuts. I could always use a jelly-filled donut. Uh, don't let my jelly-filled donuts wash away, Botan. Uh, but yeah, this is pretty good news if it's gonna happen sometime soon. And it's like great because nowadays when you're voice acting, you don't need to come in. You can just do this. You can just stay home. Most of these guys have, especially because of during COVID, they weren't really able to come in. So most of them have in-home studios that they, professional equipment they record from, and then they'll send it to, whoever is the one who receives it, and they can do it that way. it's a little more difficult because then it's like normally when you're voice acting, you're sitting there in the booth and you've got the, like sound director and all that. And they're, you got like two, three people or sometimes two, doesn't matter. But they're kind of like coaching you like, oh yeah, could you just up the aggression on that by like 30%? But when you're at your home, you may be able to do it during like a video call. But if not, then you kind of have to just record yourself, listen back to him, and be like, is maybe I should just crank that up a little bit. So, but because of that, it should be easier to get this done because there's not like, okay, we got to get everyone together. You can just stay home. So, being a voice actor has never been easier. You don't have to worry about moving or, before you, it's like, oh yeah, you got to move to like, it's like you got to move to like Austin or California, but no, you can just do it from your home now. So, would you like to say something? I'm here. What do you think? Huh? What do you think? Did you just poop? As soon as I picked him up, he just pooted. He's raunchy. Raunchy. Yeah. Ugh. I was right in my face. My mouth was open. I love how no matter what kind of video I'm making, it always ends up being a Sam video. It always becomes a Sam video. God. Fucking raunchy. Me and my friend had a cat called Legolas, but we called him Pootus. Because like every time you picked him up, it was just like... So, it's like, Pootus. It's like, oh, right in your face, daddy babe. It's like clockwork. He comes in, he poots, and then he's down there making love to my boot. He's a boot licker. Like, literally a boot licker. Like, he licks my boot, like, he'll grab it, and I mean, I don't know what's on the boots that's making him do that, but something on my boot smells good. For him, at least. Anyways, yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho, one of my favorite, actually not one of my, it is my favorite anime of all time. Second favorite would be Death Note. Third would be Dragon Ball, just the entire series in general. I'm not gonna say Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball or GT or Super. It's Dragon Ball, just in general. But yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho is definitely one of my favorite. It's my favorite anime of all time. And a lot of it, like I said, has to do with there's no filler episodes. The characters are memorable. There's a lot of big character growth for pretty much all the characters. Sometimes you'll have an anime where just like one character grows or something. Not just physically, but like mentally and kind of like think about like Vegeta. When he first comes to Earth and he's already super strong. So it's not like, oh my god, look at his character growth, but how strong he's gotten. It's like, we know he's going to get strong. But he comes to Earth trying to kill Goku and, stuff like that. And he sets off after he loses, thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to be back and I'm going to kill you. And then on Namek, he helps them out to defeat Frieza and this and that. And then slowly but surely, he becomes not only a good guy, but he becomes a family man. He has something to fight for now. And because of that, then we see him take this, not just, in the very beginning, it was just like small leaps of power. Like, oh, I got a Zenkai boost from getting the shit knocked out of me. But then once he had a family, he had something more to protect. So his strength level, went from, this kind of strength gain from but going from here all the way to that. His strength just went up because he had more to protect. He wanted to protect the Earth, not because a sense of duty, but because he genuinely cared about his family, and he did, even though he still thought that humans were like lesser than him, he saw what humans could, provide and kind of do with with strength and stuff like that. But in Yu Yu Hakusho, Hiei was the exact same way. He's like like the Yu Yu Hakusho version of cool of Vegeta. He's got like the same fucking Vegeta hair, except without the widow's peak, of course. But he comes in. We get introduced to him with Kurama and Goki. They're trying to they stole the artifacts of darkness from Spirit World, and then Yusuke and Hiei's first fight. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna kill you, and your girlfriend's gonna be turned into a demon, and this and that." Hiei gets defeated. Yusuke gets sent on another mission. Koenma sends Hiei and Kurama to help him storm Mei's castle and defeat the Saint Beasts and stop the Makai from, infecting everyone, by going there and destroying the Makai whistle. Of course, this after the Rando arc. Um, but yeah, and then after that, going to like Tarukane's compound, and they meet up there, and they end up fighting the Dark Tournament together, and over time, Hiei becomes not only stronger, but he gains more respect for Yusuke. He essentially becomes his friend, and Sam. And then by the Sensui arc, can I help you? Well, you don't know anything about the series. Well, what do you have to say about it? Really? Okay. Well, what about is your favorite? Fucking mouthy. Can I help you? And then by the Sensui arc, where Yusuke dies, um, Hiei is so enraged at Yusuke's death that he starts fighting out of the anger he feels and the pain he feels over the potential loss of his friend. And then by the end, where he's fighting Makuro, you kind of see how much his character's actually changed, and it's great character development. I don't know. There's something like with anime with characters with black hair and stuff like that. Because think about like Naruto. Sasuke is like the same fucking way. Sam, can I help you? What? And I shouldn't say with black hair, but like spiky black hair. Because look at Vegeta, look at Hiei, look at Sasuke. They're all pretty much the same character. In fact, I think Sasuke was actually partially based on both characters, on both Vegeta and Hiei. So, but anyways, yeah, hopefully this happens soon, and it's not going to be another 50 fucking years, because need me some Yu Yu Hakusho. If you haven't watched the OVA or any of the episodes, they're all online on YouTube. The OVA, every single episode of Yu Yu Hakusho is on YouTube. The OVAs, some of them are dubbed, like the Nightmare one that Yusuke has, like it's a nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. It's really funny. Um, the anniversary one, the one that was like 2019, it's on there. If you haven't seen them, give them a watch. They're really good. Anyways, that's gonna do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.